guys, what's going on? This is your old pal CHH. We got a new 4K review today. I'm excited about this one. We're talking about Jean-Claude Van Damme's sudden death. Now, let me give you just a brief history about what led up to this movie. You know, Jean-Claude came up on the rise really in the late 80s. Now, he had done some work. He was in movies like Black Eagle and things like that, but it was really Menahem Golem that broke him loose with Bloodsport. There's a famous story of Van Damme just running into Menahem and just breaking down on his knees. Van Damme talked about he just pushed for years and years and he couldn't catch his break. Finally, Menahem just took pity on him and pulled out the script for Bloodsport. He told his assistants, pull me out a script. What do you got? Blah, blah, blah. They said Bloodsport. He said, give me that. He says, you will be in Bloodsport. You will be my star in this movie, and I'm going to make you a huge star. And Menahem was famous for being that kind of renegade filmmaker, right? So that really catapulted Jean-Claude's career. That was a huge success. He obviously went on to do Kickboxer, then starred in movies like Death Warrant, Lionheart, Double Impact. He reached a fever pitch in 93, 94. You know, in 93, 94, that's where he really broke loose. Hard Target was a huge movie for him. Lance Henriksen was the villain. And in 1994, you could argue that Van Damme was on the same caliber of Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger. I think Van Damme actually trumped Stallone in the box office in 94. I think Stallone had The Specialist, which I don't think was a huge commercial success. I don't think it did bad, but I think... so in the 90s, Stallone was doing okay financially overseas, more so than in America. But Time Cop was a movie that was just like this huge thing for him. I think it was one of the biggest movies of 1994, so... Time Cop was his career pitch, and after that he was still up on the mountain, but that would be his fever pitch for his career. So in 95 he started doing movies like The Quest, which I think was 96, but Sudden Death was right after the absolute fever pitch of Van Damme's career, and this was the tail end of his Universal run. The Quest became this huge dud. Van Damme was on a lot of drugs during this time. He's talked about how he left his wife during this time. He lost his way. You know, Hollywood got the better of him. So that's where we were with this career. But Sudden Death is one of those movies. It's if people are going to ask me, like, Christian, what's a great Van Damme movie? I would name off Time Cop. I would name off, obviously, Bloodsport, Kickboxer, Hard Target. And I would say, you know which one's fun, though? People don't talk about it as much. It's Sudden Death. It's the movie, basically, it's Threat Level Midnight. And if you're an Office fan of the show, it's kind of that, except... I don't remember if Threat Level Midnight, if it was the president that they kidnapped or what, but in this movie, the vice president's going to Game 7 of the NHL championships, and the president is going to get kidnapped by, crooks that want to take him hostage and make all this money, and so they lock him in the press box, and, the whole thing is, if you don't start sending all this money to my bank accounts, basically close to $1 billion, you start moving this money over to my accounts after every quarter, I'm going to kill somebody. The villain in this movie was great. He had a James Bond villain style to him as a villain, a real suave kind of guy. I liked it a lot. So, and Van Damme he's a security guard that was a fireman, but there was, the tragic accident. It really wasn't his fault, but he got the blame for it. So he's been reduced down to a security guard. He's got his kids at the game. The kids get swindled in with this guy that's, got the vice president locked up. So now his kids are in danger. So now it's just a race against the time for Van Damme to stop the bomb from exploding the stadium and save the vice president. And there's some twists along the way of who's really involved with this crook to kidnap the vice president. And there's some good moments in there. So it's a great popcorn movie. Storyline-wise, it's very... maybe cliche is the word. Like, I think the originality in this is probably the hockey arena, but like this is very, basic mathematics in terms of action thriller movies. Bad guy gets hostage, good guy underdog has to stop, and save the hostage kind of thing. But I like the movie a lot. I think it's a great 90s action flick. I think it's really, really fun. I think Van Damme does a good job. Van Damme is a good actor. And I'll stand by that. I will stand by that. I think Van Damme can actually act, which I think is important for us. Like, to me, like, it's funny. My dad loves Steven Seagal. I'm a Van Damme guy. And I'll always tell my dad, I was like, Dad, listen, I know you love Above the Law and you know, I know you love Under Siege. I said, everybody in the movies can act except Seagal. In Van Damme's movies, he can act good, and he's with other good actors. So, to me, it's no competition. If you're going to watch an action movie from the 90s, you go to Van Damme before this. So, I was excited when Kino put this out. I'm hoping they get some more stuff. Like, I hope they do The Quest, and I hope they do other titles from them. So, all that being said, guys, I'll shut up about that. This is a 4K of an action flick. So here's what I'll say about the picture quality. It's a 4K. There's no doubt about it. Big improvement from all the other releases. But this is what I love about this 4K. And if you're gonna, if you don't dabble much into action stuff on 4K, here's what I'll say. What I typically see with action stuff on 4K. Take the Rambo films. You're going to have that completely gorgeous, uncompressed look. The images look incredibly sharp and good. But what I noticed with a lot of action films from the 80s and 90s is the cinematic nature of the 4K. I really feel like I'm at the theater watching this when I'm in the living room on the big 70-inch TV. And, you know, I got the lights out. It feels very, very cinematic. You know, it's different. Like, as a horror guy as well, watching 4Ks that are horror movies, we're looking for the great colors. We're looking at the great special effects, stuff like that. But with action movies, the thing that I love about the 4K looks of these is the cinematic nature of it. But this may not be the kind of movies that are for everybody with 4K. Some people could say Blu-rays are fine with that. For me, I say if you haven't tried much 90s or 80s action on 4K, I say give one a shot. I say give one a shot and see what you think, because you may actually appreciate that real cinematic nature that it gives it. And I'm in love with that. I mean, because these obviously movies shot on 35, and they just have this beautiful quality to them. It's kind of like when we did RoboCop 2 a while back. It's in that same vein. You know, the thing about action films too that's so great is if there's explosions and fire, for some reason fire and explosions always look jaw-droppingly great on 4K. So I loved this 4K. I mean, it's a great job. Kino's a company that you know they're going to do a good job with their 4Ks. But I was really happy with this. I recommend trying an action film in 4K and see if it works for you. You may say to yourself, I get what you're saying, but you know what? I'm fine with Blu-ray set. But I think, you know, this would be a great title to try it out for a lot of you guys. So the picture quality for me, I'm going to give it a solid 9 out of 10. Super happy with it. Super cinematic and filmic and just authentic is how it feels. It feels very authentic watching these. So with Kino Lorber, you're always going to get your typical standard style releases. Original poster art, which I love, with your slipcase. And I have the one sheet of that. The one sheet is right there. You can't see it, but I love this movie, so I got the one sheet of Sudden Death right there. Your spine, of course, also has the logo right there. And here's your back, and we'll look at the special features up here in a second. I want to show you those pictures. On the case itself, you know, Kino's got this uniformity, and I'm storing my Kino cases, movies in here, which I'll take a picture one day and show you guys what I'm doing. I got a little floating shelf right there. I'm putting my Kino titles on. It comes with a 4K and a Blu-ray. And, of course, the Blu-ray looks really good, too. The Blu-ray is going to have that new scan as well. I've got my 4K in the player and the Blu-ray right here, and they both look identical. If you're a Kino customer, I think one thing that people like about Kino is the uniformity of everything. So the uniformity is great. So I wanted to do a review on this because I am a big Van Damme guy. You guys know that, especially the hardcore fans of this channel. Give an action film a shot on 4K if you haven't, and I think Sudden Death would be a great one. I think what's so great about Van Damme is his ability to be vulnerable. And so many action films, some of these guys, especially Seagal, have no ability to actually be vulnerable and be in a position where they need to rise back up. Van Damme has never had that issue. He's always been a guy that you almost wonder, is he going to pull this off? How can he do this? That's what makes him the best to me. I love him so much. I'm a huge Van Damme guy. Always will be. Give this movie a shot for me, guys. In terms of special features, this is what we have. We've got an audio commentary by action film historian Mike Leader and UK cult movie director Ross Boyask. Vintage interview clips with Jean-Claude Van Damme, Peter Hyams, Powers Booth, and Ross Maligner. We got behind-the-scenes footage, theatrical trailers, and TV spots. It would be nice to get new interviews with Van Damme, but I think it would just cost a lot. He's not the kind of guy that's going to do this stuff cheap, which is a shame. I wish he would. But luckily, the old school interviews and stuff are really nostalgic and fun to watch. So there is that. Like I said, if you're going to give an action movie a shot, I think this would be a great one to try. So consider it. Wait for the price to go down. But if you are wondering how good this looks, man, it's so cinematic. So guys, give Van Damme's Sudden Death a run for its money. Thank you for watching, and I'll see y'all next time. Huge, giant thank you to all of my Patreon supporters. Without you guys, this would not be possible. To get behind-the-scenes photos, videos, music, private live streams, and much more, you can subscribe to my Patreon for as little as $1 a month. Thank you to my patrons.